Um, on taking leave of the Duke and Duchess, he kissed their hands and begged his master for his blessing, which Don Quixote gave him with tears, and Sancho received with love rings. I'm at the very bottom of 747. Let the good Sancho go in peace, amiable reader, and Godspeed him. Accept 2 bushels of laughter when you learn how he behaved in his government. Expect 2 bushels of laughter. Meanwhile, Marco befell his master that night, and if you do not laugh at that, at least you will spread your lips in a monkey grin. For Don Quixote's adventures must be honored either with wonder or with laughter. The story goes then that no sooner had Sancho departed than Don Quixote felt his loneliness, and had it been possible to revoke his squire's commission and take away his governorship, he would have done so. The Duchess observed his melancholy and asked him why he was sad, saying that if it were for Sancho's absence, she had squires, waiting women, and maids in her house who would serve him to his complete satisfaction. It is true, my lady, answered Don Quixote, that I grieve for Sancho's absence, but that is not the principal cause of my seeming sad, nor the reason why, of the many offers your excellency makes me, I can only accept the goodwill with which they are made. For the rest, I entreat your excellency to give me leave to wait upon myself within my own apartment. Indeed, Don Quixote, said the Duchess, that must not be. You shall be served by 4 of my maids, as beautiful as flowers. To me, replied Don Quixote, they will not be like flowers, but like thorns pricking me to the soul. They shall no more come into my room or anywhere near it than fly. If your highness will continue your undeserved favors toward me, suffer me to enjoy them alone and to wait on myself within my own doors, so that I may put a wall between my desires and my virtue. I am unwilling to forego this practice for all your highness's liberality towards me. In fact, I would rather sleep in my clothes than allow anyone to undress me. No more, no more, Don Quixote, replied the Duchess. I promise to give orders that not even a fly shall enter your room, let alone a maid. For myself, I am not one to infringe Don Quixote's sense of decency, for, by what I can perceive, the most resplendent of his many virtues is his modesty. You may undress and dress yourself, your worship, alone and in your own fashion, how and when you will, and no one shall hinder you. In your own room, you will find all the utensils needed by one sleeping behind locked doors, so that no call of nature will oblige you to open them. May the great Dulcinea del Toboso live 1,000 ages, and may her name travel around the whole earth, for meriting the love of so valiant and modest a knight. And may kind heaven infuse into the heart of your governor Sancho the desire to finish off his whipping speedily, so that the world may once more enjoy the beauty of so great a lady. To which Don Quixote made answer, your highness's words are true to your character, for if the mouths of virtuous ladies there can be no for in the mouths of virtuous ladies there can be no evil. Dulcinea will be the more fortunate and the more famous in the world for your highness's commending her, than for all the praises the most eloquent in the land could bestow on her. Well now, Don Quixote, replied the Duchess, it is supper time, and the Duke must be waiting. Come, your worship, let us sup, and you shall retire early, for the journey you took yesterday to Candania was not so short as not to have caused you some chafing. No, I feel none, lady, answered Don Quixote, for I dare swear to your excellency that never in all my life have I ridden a quieter or better paced beast than Clavilino. I do not know what could have induced Malambruno to dispose of so swift and mild a creature, and to burn him like that for no reason at all. I may well imagine, replied the Duchess, that repentance for the wrong he had done to the Trifaldi and company and other persons, and for the crimes he must have committed as sorcerer and enchanter, decided him to destroy all the instruments of his art. And as Clavilino was the chief of them, and caused him the most disquiet in his wanderings from land to land, he burned him, so that his ashes and the trophy scroll might immortalize the valor of the great Don Quixote de la Mancha. Once more Don Quixote gave thanks to the Duchess, and after supper he retired to his room alone, refusing to allow anyone to come in and wait on him. So great was his fear of encountering temptations which might induce him or compel him to forget the proper chastity he reserved for his lady Dulcinea, having ever present in his imagination the virtue of Amadis, flower and mirror of knights errant. Closing the door behind him, then, he undressed by the light of 2 candles. But as he took off his stockings, oh, disaster unworthy of such a personage! There burst not sighs nor anything else to discredit the purity of his breeding, but about 24 stitches of one of his stockings, which made it look like a window lattice. The good gentleman was extremely distressed, and would have given an ounce of silver had there to have there a 16th of ounce of green silk, for his stockings were green. Here Benedeli exclaims in writing, "Oh, poverty, poverty, I do not know why the great Cordovan poet was moved to call you holy and misvalued gift. For more than though I am, I know very well by the commerce I have had with Christians that holiness lies in charity, humility, faith, obedience, and poverty. But for all that, I declare that anyone who grows content with poverty must have much of God in him, unless it is that kind of poverty of which one of his great saints says, 'Possess all things as if you possess them not.' And this they call poverty in spirit. But you, second poverty, for it is of you I speak. Why do you choose to break in upon a gentleman, men of birth, rather than upon other people? Why do you compel them to shine up their shoes and to have buttons on their coats for some of silk, some of hair, and some of glass? Why must their ruffles be generally crumpled and not spread in smooth pattern? Which shows the antiquity of starch and smooth ruffles. How wretched, he went on, is the man of birth who is always regaling his honor with chicken broth while he dines poorly behind closed doors, making a hypocrite of his toothpick by going out into the street with it, though he has eaten nothing which obliges him to clean his teeth. How miserable is he, I repeat, whose honor is terrified at the thought that someone may discover from a mile off the patch on his shoe, the sweat marks on his hat, the threadbareness of his coat, and the hunger in his stomach. All these reflections were revived in Don Quixote by the breaking of his stitches. But he was comforted by seeing that Sancho had left him some riding boots, which he decided to put on the next day. At length he lay down again, brooding and dispirited, as much for lack of Sancho as for the irreparable disaster of his stockings, which he would have darned up, even though with silk of another color, the most expensive token of a gentleman's penury. He put out the candles, but it was hot and he could not sleep. So he got out of bed and slightly opened a window with an iron grill which looked out on a beautiful garden, and as he opened it, he perceived people walking and talking among the greenery. As he set himself to listen attentively, and the voices from below were fairly loud, he heard these words: "Do not press me to sing, Emerencia, for you know that from the moment the stranger entered the castle and my eyes fell upon him, I have been unable to sing, and can only weep. Besides, my mistress's sleep is rather light, and I would not have her find us here for all the treasure in the world. And even supposing she slept and did not wake, my singing would be in vain, should he sleep and not wake to hear it. This new Aeneas, who has come into my land to abandon me in scorn." "Do not mind that, friend Altisidora," came the answer, "for no doubt the Duchess and everyone in this house are asleep, except for the lord of your heart and disturber of your soul. For I heard him open the window of his apartment just now, so no doubt he is awake. Sing, poor grieved one, softly and gently to the sound of your harp, and if the Duchess hears us, we can blame the heat of the night." "It is not the point, Emerencia," replied Altisidora. "I do not wish my song to reveal my heart, for I should be taken for a light and capricious girl by those ignorants of the mighty force of love. But come what may, better a shamed face than a sore heart." Then someone began to play most softly on the harp, and Don Quixote marveled as he heard it, for at that instant there arose in his memory an infinity of similar adventures, of windows, bars, and gardens, serenades, love songs, and swoonings, which he had read of in his airy books of chivalry. He immediately imagined that one of the Duchess's maidens had fallen in love with him, and that her modesty compelled her to keep her feelings secret. He trembled at the thought that he might yield, but resolved in his mind not to let himself be conquered. Then, commending himself with a good heart and will to his lady Dulcinea del Toboso, he decided to listen to the music, and to let them know he was there, he gave a pretended sneeze, which considerably delighted the maidens, for they wanted nothing better than for Don Quixote to hear them. Then, after running over and tuning her harp, Altisidora struck up this ballad: "Thou that in thy bed dost lie between the Holland sheets, sleeping with thy legs outstretched all night till long till morn. O thou knight, the valiantest all La Mancha has produced, more modest and more blessed thou than finest gold of Araby. Here a damsel sorrowful, nurtured well, but thriven ill, who with light of thy two sons feels her soul scorched and ablaze. Thou thine own adventure seekest, other misadventures findest, dealest wounds, and yet refusest to give healing remedy. Tell me, O thou valiant youth, may God prosper thy desires, wert thou born in Libya or in Jacai's mountains? Whether serpent gave thee suck, or perhaps thy nurses were the uncouth wilderness of the woods and mountains horrible, Dulcinea well may boast, that most plump and healthy maid, conquering a tiger's heart and taming a most savage beast. From which famous she shall be, from Peneius to Jarama, from Tagus to Manzanares, from Pisgura to Arlanza. If I could but change with her, I would give a skirt to boot of the gayest that I have, hung about with golden fringe. Oh, that I were in thine arms! Oh, if not beside thy bed, that I might but scratch thy head, and of dandruff rid thy hair. Much I ask, but am not worthy of a favor so outstanding. Let me but stroke thy feet, that is enough for one so humble. Can I please scratch the dandruff out of your hair? With fine nightcaps I would give thee, and what silver socks I'd work thee, breech of the finest stamps, and what Holland cloaks as well, and how many rarest pearls, each as big as an oak gall, which, if it had no companions, might be called the only pearl. Gaze not then from thy Tarpinsian rock upon this fire that burns me, Manchango Nero of the world, do not revive it with thy harshness. Young I am, a tender pullet, my age is not yet past 15. 14 I am, and 3 months over, I swear by God and by my soul. I do not limp, I am not lame, nothing in me is misshapen, and my hair is like the lilies. When I stand, it sweeps the ground. And my mouth is like an eagle's, and my nose is rather flat, with my topaz teeth, my beauties, raised as high as heaven above. My voice will prove, if thou but listen, equal to the very sweetest, and thou findest my form and figure something more than middling too. These and all my other graces are the spoils fall to thy quiver. I am a maiden of this house, and my name's Altisidora. That's Here ended the song of the sore-stricken Altisidora, and here began the fright of the court of Don Quixote, who said to himself, heaving a deep sigh, what an unhappy errant I am, that there is no maiden sets eyes on me but is enamored. How sad is the fate of the peerless Dulcinea del Toboso, that she cannot be left alone to enjoy my incomparable constancy. What do you want of her, queens? Why do you persecute her, empresses? Why do you bait her 14 and 15-year-old maidens? Leave the miserable lady to triumph. Rejoice in glory in the lot which love has chosen to bestow on her, in rendering her my heart and delivering her my soul. Reflect, enamored crew, that for Dulcinea alone am I dough and sugar paste, but for all others I am flint. For her I am honey, but for you aloes. For me, Dulcinea alone is beautiful, wise, modest, gay, and well-born, and the rest, ugly, stupid, fickle, and base-born. To be hers and no others, nature cast me into the world. Let Altisidora weep or sing, let that lady despair, for whose sake I was beaten in the castle of the enchanted Moor. For I must be Dulcinea's, roasted or boiled, clean, well-born, and chaste, in despite of all the powers of sorcery in the world. With this, he banged the window to, and fretful and heavy-hearted, as if some great disaster had befallen him, lay down on his bed, where we will leave him for the present, since the great Sancho Panza is calling us, being desirous of making a beginning of his famous government. Thank you. I know we have 5 minutes, but it's a good stopping point. Let's see. 754. As long as we get to 800 by the end of the week, we don't have to read any apart from each other. I do, however, encourage you very much to start working on the essay. Oh, Anya, who's the guy?